all the times I would write letters of manifestation to the universe, I just left it, if it's meant for us to have a child, if it's in God's plan, I leave it open. But I never personally wrote, I am manifesting having a child, or I'm manifesting being pregnant. I never wrote that, because have you ever wondered if you're the one manifesting, or if you're really just allowing God's plan to enter your life? On this channel, we talk so much about manifestation and self-love. Like literally, this is what the channel is about. And if you've been following for a while, you notice that I often put into the words, into the tone, that as much as we want to manifest things, there are sometimes moments where we kind of need to just listen to the plan. And I don't know tangibly ever how to explain it, but as this event occurred and I look back, there is just zero doubts in my mind that this was part of the plan. And I want to share with you how I participated in the plan and how I know this was written in the stars. So in case you're not understanding what I'm even referring to, I am pregnant. I recently turned 40, and it's so funny because I filmed a I turned 40 video. I'll link it below. And I said in the video, you know, my husband and I have been together for almost a decade. We chosen so far to not have children. And it was so funny when I was watching back that video, I was like, it would be hilarious if I was pregnant as I filmed. Lo and behold, I was pregnant as I filmed the video. So today I want to share with you the story of how this came to life and why I know beyond a shadow of doubt that this was written in the stars. And I also want to share the parts that I contributed to this, of listening to things that pulled me towards a certain direction, especially when it came to my body health, like physical health, emotional state of being, and certain spiritual aspects that I know contributed to me becoming pregnant. And I hate to say this, but really without even trying. And I hate to say this just because I'm careful in the sense that I know that there are so many women that struggle with fertility. I watch some of the videos, I literally bawl my eyes out because I can feel that pain. So if you are in that place and this is going to be triggering for you, skip the video, come back when you feel like it won't trigger you, because some of the things that I'll share, I know I can't say I know for a fact because I'm not a doctor, but based on now what I know, I am sure it did contribute to the fertility. And I will also link a woman below, Dr. Katie Rose. She actually used to be a client of mine. She loved our hypnosis sessions so much. She learned hypnosis, and she is a fertility expert, a naturopathic doctor. And I follow her because she just soothed my soul. And I mean, she was a client, but I also follow her because she soothes my soul. And I always wanted the option to potentially have children later on. And you know, in society, like, I don't need to tell women, like, the pressure once you turn past 35, you're like almost some sort of expired product. And it's like, come on, let's go. You need to hurry up. If not, you're going to miss your chance. But this is very much, I'm noticing, for me anyways, more of a North American thing. It's certain cultures, but like when I talk to a lot of my other friends in different parts of the world, having a child in their 40s is kind of like the thing to do. So I don't know how I got to that part of the rant, but I definitely just think that it's important, if you are not sure if you want to have children or if you want to have children later on, to follow people who will speak positively, because I think the mental programming for women when it comes to fertility is wild. So now that that's said, if we don't know each other, hi, my name is Atena. Welcome to the channel. On this channel, we talk all about loving ourselves unconditionally and manifesting our dream realities. And very soon we will talk a lot more about motherhood. I will weave that in, especially with inner child and all of that. So if that's something you're interested in, you should consider subscribing. And also, I know for those of you who are familiar with the channel, I've been very MIA. The first trimester definitely kicked my ass. If you want me to talk about it, drop it in the comments below. But also note that if you want continuous access to me all the time, the best place is within my community, the It's Possible community. We just launched the Lulu is the Solulu challenge. Like, we're just such a vibrant community. It's $22 a month at this point to join, and it will increase in price. So that is something that I will continue to do throughout the pregnancy, post-birth. Other ways to work with me will be linked below. I will be stopping the one-on-one hypnosis and coaching sessions in a couple of months. I think maybe 3 or 4 months, I'm not sure, but I will be taking a mat leave and taking that time for me and baby. Oh my gosh, I'm out of breath. Guys, I have to tell you, I'm often out of breath. First of all, like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm so inappropriate. I can't talk about my own boobs, but holy moly, what the F is going on? If you're part of my family, don't watch, because, you know, I'm gonna get a real TMI in this video. I'm gonna get real TMI and maybe say a lot of inappropriate things. I have no idea, but yeah, where was I going? Where was I going? Okay, I have my notes, Let me follow the notes. Okay, so the story. Why am I certain that this was written in the stars? So first of all, one of my astrologers actually told me I was going to be pregnant around this time. And when he told me, it was, I think, in the month of September or something. And at that point, my husband and I were like, we're not planning to have children at that point. We are taking measures to understand where our fertility rates are at. And we were in the midst of deciding. So when he said you're going to be pregnant in the month of April or May, I was like, I don't know. That's not really what we're planning. He said, okay, well, you may also just give birth to a book. And I was like, I'm working on a book. Maybe that's what it is. Let me double down on this book. Meanwhile, I totally forgot to finish the book, as so many other things happen in life. And I remembered what he said, but I also like pretty much forgot it. Now, this part is going to get a little TMI, but I have to share it, because if not, the rest of the story won't make sense. So my bleed is like a Swiss clock. Like, she comes exactly when she comes. It's very rare for her to be late, for her to be early. Like, it's just very rare. In the month of March, there was a very weird energy that took over, and I had something tragic happen, and I don't really want to get into that. I shared, some of you know, probably even just by watching one of the videos that I posted around that time, it can be kind of obvious, but anyways, I need to drink a lot of water often. I really hope I don't have to pee while, this is what I do, I drink water, I pee. Anyways, so there was a weird energy, something tragic also happened, and for the first time in years, my bleed came 1 week early. This is all going to be relevant, I promise. So it came 1 week early. I remember being like really shocked, but saying, okay, like my body's just under a lot of stress. I need to be kind to myself. I didn't think much of it. So what? It just happened. And I track also I track, like, I know the signs of when you are fertile, and I know the signs of when you're fertile, when you are ovulating, sorry. And I know the signs of when that ovulation period is over. Now, do I pay attention to it? Not really, to be honest. I was using an app. I got really lazy about it. Like, it's obvious signs, but like, if you don't pay attention, you might not notice, right? And I check my app before my husband and I are intimate to make sure that we're not in that window of I will potentially get pregnant, because like I said, it was not yet in the part of our plan. Now, the only day I did not check, it didn't even occur to me to check, was my birthday. Can you blame me? No, it's my birthday for sure. Like, come on, hello, yeah. And I remember like just the next day checking and being like, oh, that was a little risky. That was very risky. But everyone keeps telling me once you're 40, you're gonna see it's gonna be so hard. You're gonna have to try for years. And I was like, yeah, whatever. So one time, whatevs. Well, surprise. Surprise, surprise. That's all it takes. All it takes is the one time. And the thing is, the synchronicity of those two events, of the fact that my bleed came 1 week early and that the one day I would not check is my birthday, and that was the day that was the perfect day for us to be intimate in terms of if we wanted to conceive. This is how I know that, and my astrologer called it, this is how I know that it was part of the plan. And when I thought back of all the different things, I want to get now into the part of how I physically prepared my body without even knowing for pregnancy. It all makes kind of sense, right? Not kind of, it all makes a lot of sense. So the first thing is that a couple of years ago, I got the intuition that something needs to change here. And what happened is that I spoke with my shaman, and my shaman said, you need to do a liver detox. So over the last 2.5 to 3 years, I did 2 liver detoxes. I did a couple of other cleanses and 2 very intense cleanses, like cleanses where you get rid of heavy metals out of the body, you get rid of parasites. I talked about it in other videos because I also think it's very healing for your nervous system. Last year, I also began to radically change my diet. I began to incorporate animal meat and animal fat a little over a year ago. This was such a game changer because I was basically vegetarian. My hormonal balance, like, it was night and day. And actually, I took notes on this because I want to tell you how much of a night and day it was, because I was very much like, no, you need to be like vegan, vegetarian to be healthy. And when I made the switch, I did 6 weeks of pure carnivore diet. And then I began to introduce other things. But like, I was like, I'm not going to let go of animal meat and animal fat at this point, because it was like mind blowing. So brain fog I didn't know I had was gone. I had arthritis in my hands, gone. PMDD symptoms, so I would get depression like a week and a half before my bleed, like literally like clockwork, gone. I had constant nausea, like I don't even know how to explain it, gone. Energy stability, I stopped having energy crashes. So it was just like out of nowhere, I began to be I began to feel normal. I know that sounds crazy to say, but there was a day I remember even like being around my husband and just like out of nowhere being like, oh my gosh, is this what it has felt like for everyone else? Like, how have I missed on this? So that hormonal balance was very imperative, I feel, to prepare my body. In fact, there's a book I read early on in my pregnancy, Real Food for Pregnancy. I'll put a picture of it here. And a lot of the ways I was eating is exactly how you should eat in your pregnancy. So there's that. I also started weight training. And for someone who was always scared to lift more than 5 pounds, my trainer made me lift heavy weights. And that started making me happy. And the thing is, the older, okay, so some women will get triggered. The more mature in age you get, the more important it is for you to actually lift weights, for you to continue to develop those muscles. And I'll just leave it at that. Now, the last thing I did for my body is I genuinely felt over the last 2.5 to 3 years that there was a disconnect. Oh, sorry. I also quit drinking alcohol, big one. You guys know this if you watch my channel. So alcohol, look, I don't judge. I used to drink like a fish. I mean, I worked at the supper clubs and nightclubs while I was going to university. So literally, I'm not judging, but alcohol is a poison. I remember my manager even used to tell us this, guys, we're feeding people poison. Like, why are you saying this? But it is. And when I got rid of alcohol, other things happened. I'll talk about that later. But I think that is also a big contributing factor to feeling good, hormonal balance, and feeling more active. Now, the last thing I did when it comes to physical health, it's also very spiritual and mental, is that I decided about 2.5 years ago, to get more connected with my womb, maybe 3 years ago, actually, at this point. So I started doing womb connections, but I did it like in microscopic portions, microscopic. And I, took a course here on how to use a yoni egg, like just different things, different meditations and stuff. And then I was meant to go to this retreat. It got canceled. And I was like, that's it. I've had enough. One of my best friends was joining a womb mastermind. I didn't even know what the F that meant. And I said, I am joining with you. And it was a game changer. First of all, I think a lot of women don't we don't talk about this, but there's having orgasms, and then there's having full body orgasms, like naturally. And this was the first time in my life where I felt that deep connection of experiencing that. It is so healing on a cellular level. It is healing on an emotional level. And I just began to really feel more connected with my womb. I know my clients began to notice it, because just the way I would speak about the womb, even in my videos, I had people reach out and say, I'm starting to see the power of my womb just on the words you said. And that was a combination of 3 years of going into it, and then finally just deep diving and focusing and really connecting with the power. As women, we are the portal between the heavens and the earth. The womb is such a magnificent, glorious space. And to genuinely understand her wisdom and to connect with her wisdom is just, look, do you need this to get pregnant? No, but I believe that for me, it was an imperative step before becoming that portal. So now I want to get to the last part, and that is how I psychologically prepared for this. Because last year when I quit drinking alcohol, a couple of things happened with my family, and I went no contact with pretty much everyone at some point, and I began to do deep somatic psychotherapy. And I did some shadow work that I had, you think you do it, but then you realize you haven't really done a lot of things because you've avoided, even that one glass of wine to numb the pain. Like, it can go far. And once I no longer had that, and I was in this kind of confrontation, it was extremely healing. I dealt with things that I was scared to even admit. And I remember, I think it was June 1st or 2nd, 2024, there was a day where I actually felt crazy, because for the first time, I'm like, I feel like I can hear, like I can genuinely hear Atena's thoughts. And I realized around that point, like maybe a month, actually about 3 months after that, as I was talking with my psychotherapist, because my husband and I was telling him, I'm reaching the age of 40. We need to really decide, like, are we having children or not? Because, like, as much as I want to stay open, and I know people who have had children up until the age of 49, 50, I was like, we need to decide, because I don't think I want to wait another 10 years if this is what we want to do, right? But neither one of us was able to pull the trigger. So I think God was like, I'm going to pull the trigger for you guys. But that said, I did talk to my psychotherapist, and I said, I think that one of my biggest fears of bringing a child on this earth is that I don't want this child to go through the traumas that I went through. And I know this sounds cliche, and a lot of people probably say this, but it's hard, because like part of me is like, I am so grateful to be alive. I'm so happy and blessed with my life. And I also recognize the very big, hard choices I had to make to pursue my healing. And it's not a given. And I was like, I don't want to be responsible for that for another human being. But as my psychotherapist pointed out to me, first of all, quite literally, it would be pretty impossible for that to repeat, first of all, because I'm in a loving marriage, and I'm not in Iran, so I was born in Iran, although there was a whole, I don't want to say the words to get shadow banned on here on YouTube, but there was a whole thing that happened with Iran, as you know, a couple of weeks ago, and I thought this was very ironic that this is happening during the pregnancy, my first trimester. But I was born when there was that conflict between Iran and Iraq, and it was very traumatic on my nervous system. There's just so much trauma, like a plethora of trauma that I had to work through. And I was like, I don't think I want to do that. Like, I don't even want to take that responsibility. But then when he made me realize that it's not possible for that situation to repeat, and what I have to focus on is continuing my own path of stepping into my own, it really allowed me to let go and look at what my deeper triggers are of, like, just becoming a parent. And I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to be ready. I don't know. And I think a lot of people are like that. But as soon as we found out about pregnancy, the first thing we did was, maybe I'll insert the clip after, because I filmed it. We laughed because we were like, what? My husband's like, oh no, babe, there's no way, there's no way. I'm like, I think so, babe. I think this is happening. And when we saw the positive sign, it was just like we bursted out laughing and we were super happy. Like we were shocked, very clearly shocked, but also super happy. So that's also how I knew, okay, I did want this, you know. All the times I would write letters of manifestation to the universe, I just left it. If it's meant for us to have a child, if it's in God's plan, I leave it open. But I never personally wrote, I am manifesting having a child or I'm manifesting being pregnant. I never wrote that because it again, some people know, like they know to say it. Like people go through shit. Like people go through IVF. People go through years of going directly into fertility practices and stuff. Did I even make sense? But you know what I'm saying. So I'm like, we're not there. We're not thinking like that. Anyways, oh my God, how long have I blabbed on for? 20 minutes. Okay. I love you guys so much. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, if you want to share about the first trimester. And I will be back more full-time here on YouTube, I promise. It's been just such a whirlwind between the first trimester, just not feeling good at all. And we just moved. We're in our new home. I don't know if you could see, can't tell. But we are settling into our new home, into our new nest, and there is still going to be travel, but I just don't know when. So it's crazy too to think about that. And until the next video, I'm sending you so much love.
Why is it wet? Did you pee on that?
If my hands are wet, but yeah, I peed on it. Oh my God, it's the clearest sign. It's the clearest day. There's